Okay. Now we're back to you again on the John Mayaki Show. I want to sincerely thank you for joining us on this episode of the John Mayaki Show today. We're glad to have you today. We're going to be discussing some important issues trending in the country. Now we're going to be looking at the 2023 projection by the newspaper, This Day newspaper. There's a projection about Tinubu, Atiku, and that is the presidential, the major candidates of the candidates of the major political parties. The projection, how they will win, how they will not win. We'll take a look at that. I mean, a second look. This day has done their own. We want to take a second look at that. Olusegun Obasanjo, that is the former president of Nigeria, in politics of 2023. We see the APC candidate visiting him. We see Peter Obi meeting him in UK. We see Wike and Obasanjo also meeting. A lot of people just want to meet him. Even Atiku has gone to meet him. So we want to see the role. Don't forget, Obasanjo also visited Mina to see the former the former president, that is military president. We're also going to look at the curiosity about the youth that are yet to be distracted by BBNaija in the build-up to 2023. There was this speculation that these young generation guys who normally are supporting Peter Obi of the Labour Party, whenever the BBNaija starts, they will be distracted and leave politics, leave the Obi thing, and begin to watch BBNaija. I mean, but it seems nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. So we want to look at that. What exactly is happening? It seems a lot is changing in the polity. We'll also look at the allegation by Governor Ortom against the president that the president is fueling the crisis in Benue State, and that the president is allegedly supporting a group of Fulani herdsmen to perpetrate criminality in Benue State, and possibly even kill people in Benue State, and that the security guys should just allow them to do what they need to do. I mean, that is quite terrible if it is true. But the governor has to restrain, has to do what he needs to do to make sure that it doesn't heat up the polity. So today I'm being joined by our in-house analyst, Idris Zekeri Jr. Idris, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Idris, what is happening? Did you read this day newspaper today? Did you see the projection as articulated by this day newspaper on the major candidates, major political parties and their candidates?
Yes, I find it as a statistician. I find it as a statistician myself by training, as an industrial mathematician with a specialty in statistics. I find it a bit shocking that they made those projections the way they made them. I think there are a lot of fundamental errors, and for a newspaper as prominent and as formidable as This Day, which is the parent company of Arise News, this same news article today also had a lot of hair coverage on the Arise morning show. I watched it, and there are a lot of things to question in that report. There are a few fundamentals that we must first of all look at before we delve into the report itself, and that is that they tried to create a pathway for victory for any of the presidential candidate who was going to win. They tried to analyze on a state-by-state basis the strengths and the weaknesses of each candidate. They try to project states where each candidate can get over 60% of the votes. I mean, that means they have won that state. And then where they are like where they can get 60% of the vote, where they need 40% of the votes, and where they will have less than 10% of the votes. Just to quickly pick a few from the states they mentioned, so that we don't take too much of our time looking at these issues. They mentioned, for example, for Atiku, they said states he may likely get over 60% of the votes. They mentioned Adamawa. You can't contest that. It's from Adamawa. They mentioned Taraba, Bauchi, Benue. Benue. There is a big mistake in Benue. You cannot, suggest that Atiku will win a Benue state. Keeping in mind, look, discountenance the fact that Ortom is a PDP governor. Ortom has a running battle with Fulani people.
But are you from Benue? The chairman of the party.
When we get to Ayu, we'll talk about Ayu. Ayu is a featherweight politician as far as I'm concerned, and we heard the way Wike put it today. The most popular man in Benue today is Reverend Father Alia, the governorship candidate of APC in Benue. He's a Catholic priest who has taken a temporary break from priesthood, because as a Catholic, we do not mix politics and the priesthood, to run for the governor of Benue State. And by projections, by popular projections, Alia will win the governorship of Benue State. To suggest that Atiku will get 60% of the vote in Benue State is guilty of the error of overgeneralization. They also went to mention that in Katsina, Atiku will likely get over 60% of the votes. I want to also contradict that on so many levels. Back to Benue. Don't forget, Benue is predominantly a Christian state, and there is no love lost between the Benue people and the Fulani people. Atiku is a Fulani man. Atiku is an extension of the Buhari presidency, and the Benue people, having passed through a lot in the hands of Fulani herdsmen, marauding Fulani herdsmen, I don't see how it is possible for 60% of Benue people to vote another Fulani man. So in Benue, I put it squarely between the Labour Party candidate, who I feel has the upper hand, and the All Progressive Congress. I don't see how. And don't forget that Ortom is a wicked man. And from the way things are going now, it is clear that Wike is not going to back down from this fight. It will be a fight to the finish, because people are already going back to the trenches. You see that IU and the people have gone to the trenches. Wike and the people are also going to go back to the trenches. And from there, there's going to be massive exchange of artillery fire, like we have in Ukraine and the Russian war. Now, they also mentioned Katsina.
Okay. No, I'm wondering why you are bringing Ukraine and Russian war into this, because that is the war that has make food prices and oil and all. I mean, don't bring that into here, because we're already fed up with the situation we are in already. It's okay. Let's go on.
Well, it's an artillery war in Russia-Ukraine. However, why there is artillery, the normal military artillery pieces, what we have in PDP, Atiku PDP versus Wike's PDP, is exchange of verbal artillery. So that's where the comparison comes in. Now, the mention Katsina, I don't, without mincing words, I can tell you that if Buhari loses Katsina, Buhari having come out publicly to say we campaign for the APC, an APC candidate, if Buhari loses Katsina, it will be a final nail in his political coffin.
That's not true.
I do not see
that is not true.
I don't see how it is possible that Buhari will lose Katsina to Atiku. Not to any other person. No. To Atiku. That's Buhari's party.
It's free and fair contest. But you want him to rig it? You want him to rig it? He has one vote. Buhari has one vote.
Yes, I agree with you. If Jonathan comes to run for election today, the first state that Jonathan will win is Bayelsa State. I can also tell you again that any candidate that Jonathan supports in Bayelsa will win elections in Bayelsa. Whether in the PDP or in the APC, you saw what happened during the David Lyon case, where Jonathan and his wife supported David Lyon of the APC, and he won, if not for the Supreme Court judgment that brought the present governor. Now, they also mentioned that the one that broke my heart was when they said Edo, Atiku will get over 60% of the votes in Edo. It's shocking. I don't know where that came from. As far as I'm concerned, there is no PDP in Edo. The PDP has no candidate in Edo. Just yesterday, they did a kangaroo certificate handing over session supervised by Iyocha to candidates in the governor's faction of PDP in Edo State, whereas the case is still in the Supreme Court. So, where this day and Arise got that PDP will get 60% of the votes in Edo, that Atiku will win 60% of the vote in Edo State, I don't know where that statistic come from, but it is fundamentally flawed. They mentioned Kaduna, they mentioned Bayelsa, they mentioned Delta. Well, we can discount Delta because, of course, the VP candidate is from there. But don't forget that Atiku's VP candidate is from the minority of Delta. The Delta, they have the majority and the minority. It's the minority of Delta. It's the 5%ers of Delta. That is where Atiku's VP is from. It's not from the Yoruba side. It's not from the Yoruba people. And there's a running battle today, as we speak. In the PDP Delta, it is divided right through the middle between Ato Ifeanyi Okowa, the governor of Delta State, and his godfather, James Onanefe Nkori. They mentioned that they suggested that Atiku might likely get over 40% of the vote in Lagos. Again, I am in Lagos. You know, when people sit in their offices and come up with projections, you know, it leaves a very sour taste in the mouth. If you are putting information in public domain, you should take the pains to do due diligence. I don't drive when I'm in Lagos. I take public transport every day. It is chaotic, it is dirty, it is ugly, it is difficult, but you get needed information. As a political scientist and a political analyst, you must hear from the people directly. You don't sit in your office in Ikoyi or Lekki or sit in your office in Meitama or Wuse and think you understand what people in Agbara, in Ajegunle, in Oshodi, you think you understand what they need or what they think or how they think or the driving force behind them. In Lagos State, it is a straight fight between APC and Labour Party. Peter Obi on one side and Tinubu. Atiku is not even in the picture. In southern Nigeria, they tried the way they so that I don't waste too much time doing a bit by bit analysis. In southern Nigeria, the way they try to coin it that Atiku will get votes get south votes, get some votes in the southeast, get some votes in the southwest. It's not the reality on ground. The reality on ground is starkly different. Saying that Atiku will win in Edo is like saying Peter Obi will win in Zamfara. It's the same thinking. So this is armchair statistics, and I think, you know, it's meant to pour cold water on the fire of certain people who are working so hard here to project Peter Obi or Tinubu, as the case may be. Don't forget that there is a sentiment that it is the turn of the South to produce the next president. You cannot have 8 years of a Fulani president and you want to replace that president with another Fulani president. Even moderates in northern Nigeria are arguing that it is time to take this power back to the South. In the interest of national cohesion, national unity, peace, and security. In the interest of fairness, equity, and justice. And somebody is suggesting that a northern candidate, a Fulani candidate, will win the election in core southern states, like Akwa Ibom, like Lagos. It's not just going to happen. I do not see how it's going to happen. In Lagos here, PDP is barely existing. PDP is almost not existing on the streets of Lagos. It is APC who are controlling the levers of power here, and obedient movement, Labour Party, who are trying to rise and dismantle the status quo. Now let's look at what they suggested about Peter Obi. If I see, do I still have time, sir?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Let's look at what they suggested for Peter Obi, the state. What they suggested? They suggested, for example, that Peter Obi will not be able to get votes in Plateau, in Benue, in Taraba, even in Kaduna and Abuja. I mean, again, I don't know upon which basis.
Will not be able to get vote, or the percentage of votes will not be.
The percentage of vote will be less than, I think, what did they say here? 15 and 20%. It's just not going to work. I mean, it's armchair analysis and it has no basis in reality. And because this is a very respected national day, people are running with the story. I don't see how. It is meant to pour cold water on the, the peaceful movement of the obedience, especially in southern Nigeria, to make them believe that if a northern candidate is even dragging your stronghold with you, and you cannot win in the north. Another analysis they did that was very shocking was that they gave the whole of Northwest, with the exception of Kano, to Atiku Abubakar. Northwestern state, Katsina, Kano, Kaduna, Jigawa, Sokoto, that Atiku will win in those states. And this has no basis in reality. Agree that Atiku will get a lot of votes in those states. Don't forget that PDP has only one governor in the whole of Northwest. And in that whole of Northwest, that governor won with 300 votes. Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State. He won with just 300 votes. So that we don't belabor the issue, I think journalists must be objective. Journalists must learn to look at the issue dispassionately. They must not do, even when they have leanings, we know we are all political animals, but even when we have political leanings, we must make statements and make projections so much so that it does not reflect our political leaning, so that we don't mislead the people.
All right.
This analysis has a lot of more work that needs to be done. Edo, for example, is a mistake. Edo cannot go to Atiku. I don't see how it's going to happen. Making a statement that Atiku will likely win in Rivers, in Lagos, has no basis in reality.
Thank you. If you're watching us, try the lines published on the screen and call us for your contribution. What about this hot exchange between Governor Wike and the national chairman of the PDP? I mean, say you guys are just babies, you guys are kids, children. You want me to resign from my job? You guys are just kidding. I mean, you say a governor is a kid? How did you see that?
You see, I would feel that as a man grows older, his motivation is no longer money. His motivation becomes doing the right thing. And that is why Obasanjo has a lot of my respect. Maybe when you ask me questions on that, I'll be able to espouse further. The national chairman of the PDP, again, has shown why Obasanjo didn't trust him, why he was, impeached from the Senate. Why he has been almost gone politically until this same year Wike and a few other persons went to resurrect him and made him national chairman. As soon as he came into the party, divisions in the party, as party chairman, you should bring unity. Divisions in the party began to run deeper. And the side that the national chairman has always taken has been the richer side of the divide. I give you an example. Look at Edo State. A governor that came to join a party that was already flourishing, a party that held on to opposition that was in the trenches for 8 years. You want to help the governor dismantle the party in the state, remove the chairman, remove the elected ESCO that had the tenure. He, Iyocha, is refusing now to also quit his position And him quitting his position is constitutional. You cannot have the presidential candidate of a party and the national chairman of a party from the same part of the country. So calling Wike a baby, I am sure that, like I said, verbal artillery, Wike is going to release his own before the end of today. If he has not already,
He has done that. He has done that already.
He has already. Okay. Okay.
He said,
by the time he releases his own, I'm sure Wike, according to according to Yeson Wike, his blood pressure will rise again. According to Yeson, so he uses those terminology, and when he says his blood pressure will rise, his musicians will play an interlude to cement it. So it is a long walk to freedom.
Yeah.
But again, Iyorchia Ayu has disappointed as a chairman. It is not supposed to be heard. Under Iyorchia Ayu, a northern candidate picked the ticket of the PDP. A party that was predominantly seen as a southern party has now turned to a northern party. PDP is now a northern party. All the principal organs in PDP are northerners. A party that has its life, its breath from southern Nigeria. So it is a disappointing scenario. Iyorchia Ayu, as chairman, should have insisted that following the constitution of the PDP, power must go to the south. You can't have the president for 8 years from the north, and then you give your ticket back to the north. Keep in mind, in 2019, when Uche Secondus was chairman, the ticket of the party, nobody contested it with northerners. It was purely a northern affair. No southerner got form. But when it came to 2022, the turn of the south, they said let them throw it open. And you know, when you throw a battle open with somebody who can outspend you like Atiku, Atiku completely outspent them. If Wike attempts to drag Naira and Kobo for Kobo with Atiku, the River State will start.
No, but
that is why he lost that election.
But that battle was not a Naira for Naira. It was dollar for dollar.
Yeah, it was dollar for dollar. Yes, it was hard currency. And maybe that's why we're having a dollar crisis. Now, immediately after their primaries, dollars went up from 550 to around 700 today. 700 as I be saying.
All right. Okay. Now, what about the role the former president Olusegun Obasanjo is playing? You see a lot of guys running to him, the candidates running to him, meeting in UK. If they are not in, Obasanjo hasn't gone with them to France, to Turkey, to Spain. But we saw him in UK, where the Labour Party candidate and even the Atiku himself went to UK to visit Wike. But Obasanjo's now, what do you think? What role do you think? What do you think he can he sway anything?
But you have to look at Obasanjo from the perspective of his political trajectory from 1999. I don't want to talk before 1999, but from 1999 up till now, you look at his posturing on political matters. After he won elections in 1999 and he won re-elections in 2003, 2007, you cannot take it from Obasanjo, take it away from him that he gave us a solid candidate in Umar Musa Yar'Adua, a candidate who genuinely had the interest of the country at heart, a candidate only under whose watch were reduced. Where has never reduced under any administration in Nigeria. It has always gone up. And it will continue to go up. From under Yar'Adua, where it came down. Under Yar'Adua, the Naira appreciated considerably against the dollar. And Yar'Adua accepted that even his own election was flawed. It was under Yar'Adua that petitions tribunal began to remove governors who had rigged their way into office. The case of Edo State is there. The case of Ondo State is there. The case of Osun State is there. And a host of other states. It was under Yar'Adua that we began to think of having free, fair, and credible elections. Started with him. He gave us that. Unfortunately, Yar'Adua died. And when the country was almost in crisis, he supported Jonathan in 2011. And in 2015, when Jonathan's government was one of the most corrupt in the world, he withdrew his support and supported the man who he thought was more honest, Buhari, President Muhammadu Buhari. In 2019, when signs of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration was showing failure, in Muhammadu Buhari was showing already, he withdrew his support And since then, he decided to stay away from politics. Until now, you can see the way he's junketing around, trying to reach out for a better Nigeria. The truth is that what you are seeing Obasanjo do is the last wish of a dying man. I am not saying, I'm using that euphemistically. I am not saying he's dying. But as an old man, he's now insisting that the right things are done. It's no longer about his interest. It's no longer about a milocon. It's no longer about whose turn is it. It is no longer about about primordial ethnic and
who do you think
sentiments.
Who do you think Obasanjo is supporting?
He is wholeheartedly supporting the candidate of the Labour Party, and it is easy to see. The process that led to the nomination of the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, it is well known that Obasanjo was part and parcel of that process. The process that led to the emergence of Dati Baba Ahmed. Dati Baba Ahmed now is the younger brother to Yusuf Baba Ahmed. Yusuf Baba Ahmed is the younger brother to Dati Baba Ahmed. Dati Baba Ahmed is one of those elders in the Northern Elders Forum, NEF, alongside Ango Abdullahi and a few other persons in that axis. Obasanjo has been reaching out to them. He has been talking to them. He has been engaging with them. 4 days ago, he was in Enugu. The other day, Tinubu came to see him. We are not privy to what they discussed, but I mean, he's an elder statesman. His doors are open to everybody. But his interest in this next election is known. He wants a departure from the past. We know that he will never support Atiku because his feeling about Atiku is captured in chapter 31 of his book, My Watch. If you have internet, you should go online and check chapter 31. He made very clear remarks about how he feels about Atiku. So Atiku is not even an option. You also know that Tinubu is mostly not an option because when he was president, they had a running battle. Himself and Tinubu, they are much older now. But again, Tinubu is not an option for Obasanjo. So he's looking at how to unify Nigeria. He's looking at how to bring the Southeasterners that have felt excluded over time into the fold and make them feel as part of one united, indivisible, prosperous country. I commend him for his efforts.
Do you think all of these, all the diplomatic shuttle here and there, all his efforts will lead to the emergence of Peter Obi? Do you see this crystallizing into the victory of Peter Obi?
It remains to be seen how this is going to significantly affect the chances of Peter Obi. But just, I think 3 days ago, one of his lieutenants, a very strong political tactician, was made the Southwest Zonal Coordinator Peter Obi campaign organization.
Akin
Oshutokun, one of the best brains in the country when it comes to political strategy. He was made the zonal. So you see the voice of the hands of Esau, the hands of Jacob for the voice of Esau. So you are seeing the work he is putting in. You see, he has been in the Southeast for some time now. He has been in the North, Northwest, and North Central talking to people until the campaign starts. In fact, I keep wondering the kind of momentum that Peter Obi has gathered, even without structures. He just gathered it overnight. So it cannot be ordinary. I agree that a lot of flagship politicians don't like him and don't want to be associated with him, which is understandable because he represents a departure from that past. Even by his words, by his conduct, by his action. Obasanjo as a person wants the best for Nigeria. It is easy to see.
Okay. What about this crisis in between the Benue State governor and the presidency? The Benue State governor said he had information from top security sources that the president told some guys, these Fulani killer men, killer herdsmen, that they should make sure they wreak more havoc in Benue State and that security operatives should not bother about them. They should just leave them to have a field day. You know, I mean, Ortom made that allegation, but Garuba Shehu, unfortunately, that Ortom is a Christian and he's lying. And Ortom has replied them again. He said, it seems you guys are smoking something more than India hemp in that presidency. No, you need to see the paper. He said, look, these guys, they smoke something in that. Okay, so we want to pray that the next president will not enter there and do something like that and start smoking there. No, okay. What do you think is the problem? Don't forget that Ortom said the president has shut him out of presidency. No, Idris, you need to tell us what you know about this.
Well, back on the Ortom issue, if you go back a little bit, you would see that in terms of performance in office, Ortom has not lived up to expectation in terms of performance. Usually, when a governor has not lived up to expectations, they look for ways to deflect attention from their own weaknesses and channel the blames to someone else. That is not to say that the Buhari presidency has done any better. It has been a monumental disaster. It is a disappointment to most of us who supported the administration. Looking back now, with the benefit of hindsight, the only thing you can pick out of that administration is infrastructure at exorbitantly sourced loans from China. Any other thing, in every other aspect, the administration has failed. Whether it is security or there's no excuse for it. They came with a clear agenda to fix the economy, to fix security, to fight corruption. And in all three fronts, they have failed. They didn't put infrastructure in the agenda. It was a three-point agenda.
No, Idris, I need you to tell us what is happening between the presidency, insecurity in Benue State, the governor, Ortom, and the president.
Yes, I am coming to that. Now, without giving excuses for the president, the Benue State governor making such hefty allegations that a senior, highly placed security a man, highly placed official, told him that the president, not any other person, not an essay to the president himself had ordered that they should allow Fulani herdsmen to have a field day killing Benue people. It's a very sad thing to come from a governor. It should not be heard at all. And I don't think it is true. I don't think it has.
But there have been killings in Benue. But there have been killings. Did you see the mass burial in Benue State the other day?
Even among thieves, there is still dignity. The president is the president of Nigeria.
So there's dignity in stealing, in armed robbery.
Yes. Yes, even among thieves. The way they want to share, they must be honest with themselves. Otherwise, they won't be working themselves. It's true.
Oh God.
So even among thieves, there is dignity. So even among Fulani herdsmen, a man who is occupying the office of president cannot, in all fairness, order that security agents should let Fulani herdsmen kill Benue people. It does not make any sense. It makes no security sense whatsoever. I don't see how it is possible. I'm trying to rationalize it. It's not going to work. So I think the Benue governor should focus on the next election. No matter how much he attacks the presidency, it will not work for him. It will not flow for him the way it's supposed to flow. His performance is what is going to be used to judge him. That's why I like Governor Wike. Governor Wike is always attacking his enemies.
No, he said no.
This way is commissioning projects.
Yes. The man is battling. The governor is battling insecurity there. How do you want him to perform? In fact, he has set up a local vigilante group, and he needed. I'm not sure he needed gun, and he said he has written to the president to please approve that they should get some arms. I'm not sure the president will approve that for him anyway. What do you think?
It is not part of our constitution that governors will be able to acquire arms and ammunition. Although they do it, but it is illegal. It's only the Office of the National Security Advisor under the president that can acquire those kind of weapons. Until we adjust our constitution to allow for state policing, what he's attempting will not work. Especially himself that has a running battle with the presidency. No presidency will allow a rebel state to be armed. He's more or less seen now like a rebel. That's not to say he is, but that's the way he's seen now. I think the governors should work with their senators. Every state has 3 senators. The president has no senator. The president is not the governor of a state. All the governors have at least 3 senators. So if they are serious about security in their places, if they are serious about security in their states, they should engage with their senators and push for the creation of state police.
The president is from Katsina State, and Katsina is boiling on a daily basis. In fact, the president's convoy...
People are killed on a daily basis in Katsina State. So is anybody going to convince me that the president also ordered the killing of his own people by bandits? You can accuse the president of incompetence, but accusing him of committing terrorism against Nigerians will be a distance too far.
All right. Lastly, let's take this point. Look at this BBNaija thing. How is it going? Do you watch BBNaija? Do you watch? Because I need to know what's happening there. What exactly is happening there? What do they do?
I know. I usually don't watch, but I think what struck me this year is that BBNaija seems to have faded into the background. The youths are more clear-headed, focused, determined, and interested in adjusting this.
Okay, Idris Zekari, we sincerely appreciate that opportunity we had with you. We want to appreciate those of you watching us on the John Mayaki show. As we come to the end of this show today, this is the much we can take, so that we can address some other issues. As we come to the end of this show, we want to ask you to stay safe. Don't be a tool. We always tell you, don't be a tool in the hands of politicians in this electionary year. And you do take care of yourself. Bye for now.